Welcome everybody to Lessons from the Field. As you know, this is a series of interviews that we do with guests who have a common thread, and that is a passion for pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences. And we're very happy today to have Christi with us. She's a 2007 PharmD graduate from our College of Pharmacy. She's board certified in pharmacotherapy, also a fellow with the Arizona Pharmacists Association. She works at Honor Health Deer Valley Medical Center as the clinical manager in the Department of Pharmacy, and also as the PGY1 RENC program director. So Christi, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again. And as with the other guests that we've had, we have some questions we're going to ask. And I know the insight and experience that you're going to relay to our students and others who might be listening will be very beneficial to them. So thank you in advance for doing this. Maybe we just start off with if you could just walk us through kind of what have you done with your life since you graduated from UIC?
A lot. So after graduating from UIC, I did pursue my residency training at Maricopa Medical Center, which is a level 1 trauma here in Phoenix, Arizona. I kind of think of it as the Cook County of Phoenix. And thereafter that, I pursued a position in emergency medicine here at Banner Boswell Medical Center, primarily a geriatric facility. But it was a really great experience having developed that clinical pharmacy practice. The physicians I worked with were so open to pharmacy, and I think it was really helpful to have that support. And having learned from my preceptors at UIC, I think I was able to see what clinical pharmacists and clinical pharmacy specialists could really do, and those relationships that they developed with their own physicians and other providers. So I practiced in the ED for 11 years, and throughout that I got involved with the Arizona Pharmacy Association, primarily through my mentor during residency. Got involved with the House of Delegates, got involved with just the health system pharmacy subgroup of AZPA, and got really involved with the section advisory group of ASHP on emergency care. And so through that, I started to do a lot of, not a lot, but several national presentations, webinars, and really networked with all the other ED pharmacists nationally. And then because of my work there, I had done a lot of work to really standardize the practice of, just pharmacy in general within my local healthcare system. And because of that work and starting the residency program at Banner, I was then recruited to come to Honor Health and essentially start the residency program here and oversee the EM pharmacy services for this network as well. So that's, over a span of about 13 years, basically.
Well, sounds great. You should be proud of what you've done. It's and from the background you have behind you, I can see why you haven't come back to Chicago yet.
Yes.
No
shoveling snow.
Yeah. I would definitely like to make a trip to Arizona right now, I can tell you.
You
So a lot of times our students are real interested in kind of more of the detailed daily activities of our alumni that we've interviewed. So maybe you could give us just an idea of what your day-to-day activities or week-to-week would be.
Okay. So being new to this position as a pharmacy clinical manager for about a year and a half, my days are somewhat, there's never a set schedule. Because of the work that I do, especially during this pandemic, a lot of what I do is monitor all the patients that have been placed on these emergency use authorization medications. So monitoring all our bamlanivimab patients who came to our ED, making sure they're not bouncing back to the ED or having some sort of adverse drug event. I'm also monitoring remdesivir for our patients, especially those with renal impairment. And so when I get in, I run reports to see, who got bamlanivimab, who got remdesivir, checking to see if there are any adverse outcomes, and if there are, to report them to the FDA MedWatch. Throughout the rest of the day, I have a lot of network responsibilities, again, because I oversee the EM pharmacy work. Part of what I've been involved with or have been responsible for is standardizing the culture follow-up process for all of our EDs. So getting those policies developed, get it approved through the appropriate committees, working with infectious disease as well as emergency medicine medical directors. So throughout the day, I have those meetings. I feel like a lot of what I do is a lot of meetings, fortunately, which is a stark difference from what I did as an ED pharmacist. But I find that being in these meetings, I really have, I feel like I could give a voice to all the ED pharmacists in our network and even to our pharmacy department here locally. And so, whether or not I'm meeting with the Arizona Coalition for Healthcare Emergency Response to talk about, pharmacy's role in the pandemic, or meeting with Arizona Pharmacy Association, or even within the network. Part of what I've also been doing recently is volunteering at the vaccine clinic, serving as a vaccine steward. Unfortunately for our healthcare system, majority of our pharmacists, some of us are certified immunizers, but a lot of us have not immunized in years. And so we're lucky enough that we do have a lot of immunizer volunteers, whether it's a physician or a nurse. And so what we have been really tasked to do is to ensure that we're having, the appropriate number of vaccines available. We're not wasting any of it. And so throughout the day, we're in the vaccine vault, drawing up doses, calculating doses that we need to draw up for the next set of patients. And so I feel like my day is different just because I'm in this position. It's not, sometimes I cover my ED pharmacist when she has to go to meetings. So last Friday, I covered the ED for 3 hours. I mean, I'm like the jack of all trades, I guess, if needed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you have kind of a nice mix of job duties from my standpoint of both management and some patient care.
Right.
So, it's always good to transition into management and not do it all at once. So it sounds like you got a good situation, but so where do you think you have the most impact? You've mentioned, I mean, obviously in patient care, you see patients and you have immediate impact, and I'm sure that's very satisfying. In the meetings you're in, it sounds like you're helping make decisions that are on a much bigger scale. But
Right.
From your standpoint, where's the impact?
I really think that, being in this position now, I can really have a much wider net of impact to, just various patients, and also just pharmacy as a whole throughout the network. I used to think, being able to, save a patient's life was, something that I really valued, and I still do. But I think that being able to really impact, all the patients that we see within all of the 6 hospitals, and, ensuring that they get, that standard of care and decreasing variation of their care, I think I feel like I'm really making a difference. Really just looking at the different pharmacy practices, making sure that, we're all up to date, and ensuring that we're, reviewing the most up-to-date literature. Again, I feel like I'm making a big impact as it relates to, providing optimal care to our patients, but also providing education to our physicians as well, and kind of, getting them up to speed with, what's available out there.
Mhm. I think this next question is similar, but a little bit different. So given what you've done so far, your career, or maybe even going back to when you were in school here, what are some of the highlights, things that have given you the most satisfaction? Might not be impact, but what you've enjoyed the most, or what you would want to pass on to others to as advice about, how to enjoy what you're doing.
I really think that it all started as an APPE student at UIC, but on rotation at different, institutions. I think having seen what a clinical pharmacy specialist really does and the impact that they have on their patients, as well as the relationships that they've built with, all of the physicians and nursing staff, I think has really shown me what that ideal pharmacist position is. And so coming to Arizona and having seen what that ideal situation is, I was really able to kind of bring it with me and kind of, in a way establish that same practice, that model here in Arizona. And I think, that's definitely one of the things that I, really value from my experience at UIC that I still take with me now that I'm in a different healthcare system. Again, developing those relationships, you know, having pharmacy be a big resource, and not just, just an afterthought to some of the departments. So I hope I answered that question, but I think that's
Yeah, yeah,
definitely one thing I remember.
yeah, yeah. No, that's excellent. This next question, I think I kind of know how you might answer this, but so you obviously, your time in the ER and as a clinician, a lot changed over that time in terms of new drugs in the market, and staying current and relevant, and being able to be on the top of your game um, was probably very important. And then now you've transitioned to kind of a new role where you're more doing more management related responsibilities, a whole different skill set. So how do you stay up on, how do you stay current? How do you advance your experiences and knowledge in order to be able to transition or to stay in these positions? What advice would you have for our folks there?
I think from a clinical perspective, one thing that I thought was really surprising is getting a lot of that in, and it's also unconventional, getting a lot of that information through social media, such as Twitter. I have a professional Twitter account. I don't have a, personal social media account. And especially during the pandemic, when there were so many new medications being tried, I actually found a lot of articles being posted on Twitter that I was able to review myself, go in depth, and really see where that medication's value is in treating a patient. Another thing too that I thought was helpful with having that social media access is also being able to reach out to other clinicians and really well-renowned clinicians, being able to reach out to them, asking them questions like, hey, how were you able to get remdesivir early on for compassionate use? Is there a way we could partner, or can I get your resource? And I think that has really helped with all of us in healthcare, is being able to get a lot of this information at such a quick speed. As it relates to my new position as a leader, I think all throughout my career as an ED pharmacist, I kind of called myself, I had the little L, the little leadership kind of position. And you'll realize that there are certain aspects of your professional life that you probably didn't even get any training in pharmacy school. So things like emotional intelligence and how do you handle difficult people, no matter where you go, whether you're in big L leadership or little L leadership, you're going to be exposed to them. And so having mentors, really providing you those resources providing you that advice, I think has really helped me at least get up to speed as it relates to this position. And, you know, having been appointed to some, you know, an emerging leaders program locally at my institution has also provided me that training. And I actually have a subscription to Harvard Business Review just to kind of get up to speed with some of the newer topics in leadership and, you know, things that I need to pay attention to.
Oh, excellent answer, especially the first part I hadn't heard before. It makes a lot of sense though, the social media and the
I know, it's a double-edged sword.
Bad, I guess. Yeah.
But it's so hard to keep up these days, especially with the pandemic. And so, you know, I'd be browsing Twitter and I'm like, what? There's a new study that just came out. So
yeah.
Definitely an easy way.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some great sites for that, you know, special subgroups of social media where you can really find that kind of stuff, and everyone is very focused on sharing. So right. I do see the advantage of that. This question is kind of more about the experiences or people that shaped or most influenced you as you've progressed through your career, but it could go all the way back to not only when you were in pharmacy school. I know you were a student at UIC before that as well, in your bachelor's degree. So what were those experiences or people that influenced you the most as you have moved through your career?
I think, you know, I know a lot of people have really helped shape my, you know, my life and my career. But I think one person who kind of really changed the trajectory of my career was my trauma clinical pharmacy preceptor, Natasha Stevkovich. I don't know if she's still at Cook County, but I think having seen her in her practice, you know, with how she interacted with the physicians and how she managed the patients and the training that she had, the mentorship that she provided while I was on rotation, I think really changed my future. At that time, I was actually planning on staying at Walgreens to work for them. And as much as I loved each rotation that I had, and I had a lot of really great clinical rotations, I think that rotation really kind of changed my life. And so that was my rotation before applying to residency. I changed the trajectory kind of last minute, and really the rest was history. And then coming here, having, you know, my program director and preceptors who were really involved with the Pharmacy Association, I kind of saw it as, you know, something that was doable. I always felt like being involved in a pharmacy association was in a way impossible, or, you know, would really need a lot of time management, but I saw that, you know, I could do it and I could be involved. And the more involved you are, the more you have an impact, not just, you know, locally, but also, you know, statewide or even nationally. So I feel like I've had a lot of people who supported me along the way, but I think definitely those people.
Yeah, it's amazing how just one or two people or a single experience can really impact you and make you kind of change your direction and your whole career. But it's a good thing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you've obviously done well. So I guess the next question maybe is more advice that you might have for our students. And then, you know, there's a lot of opportunities they have access to and a lot of decisions they have to make about which, for example, rotations to select or elective courses to take, or, you know, should I work? Should I volunteer for this or that? Student organizations, there's so many opportunities and you can't do them all. So you do have to make decisions. And I think that they're always appreciative if somebody can help them or guide them in that decision making, and especially where it might make them more competitive in the future. And so where do you see pharmacy going in the future? And using your crystal ball, then what advice would you give to our students who are here making those decisions that where they can maybe be better informed?
Wow,
That's a
that
big,
is a
that's a
big
big ask. Yeah, sorry. Predict the future and then tell us what we should do.
I I really think that technology is going to be part and parcel. I mean, it already is part and parcel of our lives. And I think that staying on top of it or staying ahead of technology, but also embracing its presence, I think will really help us move forward in our career. Um, I'm also a firm believer that, you know, you definitely need to ensure that you're still exercising your clinical skills, that you're still pursuing, those refinements and improvements, because I think that's what really sets you apart from a computer verifying orders to someone really critically evaluating the literature and ensuring that the patient is getting the right care. And so I think that, you know, I had attended this ASHP summer meeting, and the keynote speaker was talking about how technology really changed a lot of professions, but how, if you just stay on top of it and kind of embrace it and not bury your head in the sand, I think will really help you grow with that technology and be partners with it. And so, leveraging computer systems to identify potential drug interactions, but still understand that some of these systems might be too, hypersensitive, or maybe are under identifying some of these drug interactions. But again, you still are going to be needed as that clinician. And so really staying ahead and, and learning that technology.
No, I think that's great advice. I mean, obviously the students of today compared to you, certainly me, are much more technology savvy, but technology is changing so fast that in order to stay up on it, just like you say, you have to be constantly, ingrained in it. And so I think that's really good advice. And then how do you make it work for you in your position? So that's awesome. So last question, just other advice you might have for our students. Could be anything from, for career-wise, or balancing your career and, the rest of your life, work-life balance. Anything else that you want to impart?
I think, again, in just in my previous answer about, staying on top of technology, I think part of it is, my advice is, residency may, a lot of people think, well, residency is not for me, but I really think that the future of pharmacy is really being able to provide that direct patient care. And, whether or not you pursue a fellowship in, administration or in pharmaceutical companies, I think just advanced training will really help you along the way with your future, and to not sell yourself short. I think that, as I said previously, I was set on working for Walgreens. That was all I knew. That was my first job right out of high school. But understanding that I also had other options that I could pursue further training, I think has really opened a lot of doors for me. And so I think when you're at that crossroad where you have to decide what you want to do, I think, pursue that further training, pursue, residency or whatever that may be, because that'll definitely help you for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And, who's to say that, you can start working and then pursue residency later on? I mean, we've had really great clinicians here who've done that. And again, that's not something that you should not consider. But I really think that to be ahead of the game, you definitely need to be on top of, your clinical skills and training and whatnot. So that would be.
Yeah, No, that's excellent advice as well. Well, Christy, this was great. Really great catching up with you. I know you have family still in Chicago, so you're welcome anytime. And hopefully
Yeah.
this pandemic is over, you can come and visit. And while you didn't invite me, I'm definitely coming to visit you as soon as this is
Yeah, you should. And UIC used to come for
Yeah, yeah. We have we didn't do it last year, of course, but every spring we won't do it this spring either. But go down and get one of the Cubs, I guess, preseason games in and
yep, yep,
see some of our alums down there. We have quite a few in Arizona, so
yes.
yeah. All right, well, thanks a lot, and you stay safe, and thank you so much for sharing with us, and we're really proud of what you've accomplished there, and all of our alumni, but you've done great, so thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate being able to do this and give back.